What if we told you that the Israel-Hamas conflict is more than just a simple feud between two nations? It's a complex tapestry of historical, political, and religious threads, woven tightly over decades. At its core, this conflict stems from divergent beliefs and territorial disputes that have created a volatile atmosphere in the region. Let's take a moment to understand the key players. First, there's Israel, established in 1948. A democratic and developed country, yet constantly under the shadow of conflict. Then we have Hamas, an Islamist political organization and militant group that emerged from the Palestinian branch of the Muslim Brotherhood in the mid-80s. It governs the Gaza Strip and is steadfast in its resistance against Israel. And we can't overlook the Palestinian Authority, which has limited self-rule in the West Bank. Their credibility has been weakened by the collapse of statehood talks in 2014, and they're criticized for not doing enough to control militant strongholds. Meanwhile, Hamas continues to call for attacks on Israel. This intricate web of historical, political, and religious elements sets the stage for the events that have transpired recently. In the last few years, the conflict has escalated, with both sides facing accusations of human rights violations. We've seen this play out in a number of instances. Let's rewind to September 2022. Tensions were already running high in the West Bank when a clash broke out between Palestinian police and gunmen. This unfortunate incident resulted in the death of one individual. The clash erupted following the arrest of two militants, one of whom was a key figure in Hamas. The Palestinian Authority, which has limited self-rule in the West Bank, faced criticism for its seeming inability to control gunmen in militant strongholds. This incident led to an increase in violence in the region, with Israel conducting raids in response to Palestinian attacks. Fast forward to July 2021, when former UN Human Rights Chief Navi Pillay was appointed to lead an international commission of inquiry. The purpose? To investigate alleged crimes committed during the Israel-Hamas conflict. This investigation was to cover allegations across Gaza, the Israeli-occupied West Bank, and Israel itself. The probe faced backlash from Israel, who felt its purpose was to solely highlight Israeli violations while ignoring Hamas's crimes. Nevertheless, the investigation aimed to identify those responsible for violations and ensure accountability. Then, in October 2022, another incident further escalated the conflict. Israeli forces were involved in a confrontation in the West Bank that resulted in the death of a Palestinian man. This incident occurred when Israeli forces surrounded the house of a suspected Hamas member. The Israeli military responded with live fire after the suspect allegedly shot at them. This incident led to an intensification of raids by Israel in the West Bank. These events highlight the volatile nature of the conflict and the urgent need for resolution. So where does this leave us? What does the future hold for the Israel-Hamas conflict? These are questions that loom large as we consider the path forward. A significant development on the horizon is the investigation led by former UN Human Rights Chief Navi Pillay. This probe into alleged crimes committed during the conflict between Israel and Hamas could have substantial implications. It brings a measure of accountability that has been lacking in this long-standing conflict. The potential identification of violators and the push for their accountability could shift the balance, possibly deterring future acts of violence. On another front, the Biden administration's proposal to provide a new weapons package for Israel and Ukraine is a development that could influence the dynamic of the conflict. Strengthening Israel's defense capabilities could potentially alter the power dynamic and either fuel further aggression or deter it. However, these developments are double-edged swords. While they could lead to accountability and deterrence, they could also escalate tensions, making the conflict even more complex. As we navigate these uncertain waters, the need for dialogue, understanding, and ultimately, a peaceful resolution becomes increasingly apparent. While the road ahead is uncertain, one thing remains clear. The need for a peaceful resolution is more urgent than ever. Unraveling the Israel-Hamas conflict is no easy task. We've journeyed through the intricate origins of this conflict, traced recent developments, and speculated about potential future outcomes. We've seen Palestinian authorities struggle to control militant strongholds, the international probe into alleged crimes, and the escalating violence in the West Bank. We've also considered the role of international actors like the Biden administration and the UN. Understanding the complexity of this conflict is the first step towards envisioning a peaceful resolution. Remember, it's not just about picking sides, but about recognizing the human cost of this ongoing conflict.